Q4 is by far the most profitable period of the entire year when it comes to Amazon KDP. In this video, I'm going to show you exactly how you can prepare properly for Q4 to ensure you're making as much money as possible during this period. So ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. For those of you that are new here, my name is Sam and I've generated over £130,000 on Amazon KDP, and this YouTube channel is all about me teaching you exactly how you can do the same. I do have 2 online courses if you want to check those out, both down in the description, if you want to accelerate your learning and learn a much greater level of depth. But for now, we're going to jump into this YouTube video, which is going to be all about Amazon KDP and preparing for Q4. So we're going to start off very simple. What is Q4? So for those of you that don't know, Q4 is just the final quarter of the year, but it's very, very important to KDP. Book sales therefore see a huge uplift as customers buy for Christmas. So Q4, obviously the 4th quarter, so October, November, December, the final 3 months of the year, people buy loads of products for Christmas, and which is why it's so successful for KDP publishers. As you can see here from my latest kind of shot of my royalties over time, as you can see, I made £130,000 of royalties. I've actually made more than this. This is the last screenshot I took at the end of March. But you can see here, there's really distinct spikes throughout my entire growth. So there's one spike here, one here, one here, and one here. This is all Q4. So this just shows you how much potential there is to be made in Q4. The most recent Q4 I've just had, I made just over £20,000 in 1 month in December. So that just kind of shows you the scale of what is possible with capitalizing on Q4 and the strategy that you can have to implement in order to get kind of results like this. I'm not expecting everyone to make £20,000 in their own or their first Q4, but it's all about the logic and the process behind what I've done to capitalize on this period of time. Because you can see it is super profitable to my Amazon KDP business. So when you talk about Q4, you talk about Christmas stuff. And the one thing loads of people would just say is, let's just make loads of Christmas books. That is not the way forward. As you can see here, if I just typed in Christmas book for kids, there are over 80,000 results because everyone kind of has the same mindset of, okay, it's Q4, it's around Christmas, therefore you must have to make a load of Christmas books to be successful. There is so much competition for these types of books, and it's just not the way to go. Don't get me wrong, some people make an absolute killing from Christmas books, but it's so much harder to have a successful book if it's Christmas themed because there's so much competition that you're competing against in this niche. So instead, rather than just saying, let's make loads of Christmas books, think about what Christmas is actually all about. And it's not necessarily about just giving Christmas gifts. On Christmas Day, if you're fortunate enough to receive gifts from people, you don't necessarily just receive Christmas themed gifts. You get gifts from all sorts of things. So rather than just focusing on Christmas books, we need to think about, okay, rather than just think about that, what books can be typically given as gifts? That's what we're focusing on, not Christmas books, books that can be given as gifts. So what kind of books can you see that are typically given as gifts? Anything such as journals, yearly planners, kids books, books for seniors, books for colleagues, and quiz books. Loads of these kind of books are really popular during Q4, and these are the typical books that you can see being given as gifts. Just generally things that someone necessarily wouldn't buy for themselves, but you can see as being a nice treat for someone if someone buys it for you. So kind of what this looks like in terms of a visual representation. This left-hand side is going to be Christmas books and what you're doing. And essentially what you're doing, if you're making Christmas books, this red area is just all the area that people are already publishing in. It's already completely saturated. You're competing for such a tiny portion of an already very saturated niche if you're just focusing on Christmas books. However, if you're focusing on kind of books that can be given as gifts, yes, there is loads of competition around the kind of whole publishing sphere. But because you're targeting not necessarily one niche, you're targeting journals, you're targeting planners, you're targeting kids books, colleagues, seniors, quiz books, these things. You're targeting so many different areas of the whole KDP sphere, and you actually open up a lot more opportunity for you because there's just so much less competition rather than just doing what everybody else is doing and just trying to squeeze every single last drop out of Christmas books. So that's kind of why I approach Q4 in this way. Obviously, everyone might have their own methods. I'm only going on for what has worked for me. And as you can see from my graph previously, it has been successful. So this is just my method. And if you don't want to do it, then by all means don't. But it's what's got me to where I am today. So with that in mind, what actually is the strategy? So ironically, money made in Q4 actually is made in the months before. So Q4 is where you make the sales, but the sales of those books have to be made in the months before, which is why I'm releasing this video now, because it gives you plenty of time to build up that portfolio of books that's going to make you money during Q4. So the work you put in now will be rewarded when you get to Q4 eventually. So here are some pieces of advice I would give to anyone wanting to have a successful Q4. First of all, keep it simple. Because these are books that are going to be given as gifts, you can kind of get away with keeping the interior simple. It's not something that someone's going to buy for themselves and they expect this really amazing kind of thing. Because it's given as a gift, there's kind of a lot more leeway. I'm not saying be lazy or rush your interior, but you can just kind of keep it simple and just don't overcomplicate it. Secondly, target proven niches. So you can use the Helium 10, I've said app there, I meant to say Chrome extension, to find books that spike during the Q4 period. So I'm just going to show you that in just a second. So target proven niches that you have shown to be successful in this Q4 period. And then finally, Q4 keywords. You need to make sure that you're using Q4 related keywords in your listing. So things like gag gift, secret Santa, surprise for colleagues, that sort of thing. They're really good keywords to use in Q4. So they're kind of 3 really important tips that I would advise you to use during your Q4 strategy. But I'm going to focus now specifically on this second one and target proven niches. I'm going to jump over to Amazon now and show you exactly what I mean by this kind of proven niches that sell during the Q4 period. So we're now in Amazon here, and I can show you a book here, Hilarious Jokes for 9-year-old Kids. It's not a Christmas themed book, but it's the kind of book you can see being given to loads of 9-year-old kids for Christmas as like a stocking filler or a secret Santa, that sort of thing. As if you look down into this BSR over time, this is actually the Helium 10 Chrome extension. This is a free extension. Helium 10 is a paid piece of software, but this specific Chrome extension is completely free. If you just go to the Chrome web store and type in Helium 10, this is what you'll be able to download. I've set the BSR history over a year. So basically what this does is just tracks how a book's sales rank does over the entire year. And what you can see here, it's kind of launched at this sort of area, and it's not done too well. I mean, it has done well, but relative speaking to where it is now, it's kind of being up and down a little bit. And then you can see the BSR just completely drops, which in this sense is a good thing. Lower BSR means more sales. Completely drops around this November time. So 6th of November, it goes down to 1,000 and just consistently stays super low during this Q4 period. Even when we get into December, you can see here, 9th of December, 626 BSR. So this was the 626th best-selling book on the entire of the UK Amazon marketplace on this specific day. So it just shows you how successful this book has been. And then once, it's actually really interesting, once you get past Christmas, you can see the BSR starts to rise again. Obviously, it's still a good book, so it still has a relatively low BSR. But compared to where it was, it just shows that this book is one that really performs really well during Q4. And it's exactly what I mean by targeting the specific niches that have been proven over time. So from what I would take from this is obviously don't just copy this book, but this clearly shows that sort of joke books for kids can be really successful during Q4 because you can see in the data that this is so apparent for you to see. So that's an example of why it's really important to use historical data to know exactly what niches are successful during Q4, and then just produce books in not necessarily in those niches, but in similar niches that you know are going to be successful when you make them. So I'll jump back over to the slides now and carry on with the rest of the video. So that is the kind of the 3 things I would definitely bear in mind when you're talking about your Q4 strategy. And now into the final part of the video is how can you actually go ahead and make one of these books. So I just showed you that joke book, which has been really successful. And how can you actually go ahead and make one of these books? Bearing in mind you want to keep it simple, target proven niches, and use those Q4 keywords. So I'm going to go over now and show you where I'd find kind of content for something like this joke book and just show you how easy it is to make a book like this. So the main thing you can do is just go to Google and just find loads of jokes out there that are already made for you. So again, you have to be very, very careful with just copying content. I would never just copy stuff. But there's loads of different search results. If you just type in jokes for kids, there's loads of different options here, and you can combine all of these into your one very own unique interior. It's super easy and it doesn't take a lot of effort for you to make. But one thing I will do, if you just go ahead and copy and paste these, you could get yourself into trouble with Amazon because it's technically not your content. So what you can do is just change a few words in the interior. So just go for, what do you call a boomerang that won't come back? You could just say, what do you call a boomerang that doesn't come back? A stick. And that's kind of a way around just copying someone else's content. It's a way of keeping your book unique and you won't get in trouble with Amazon, generally speaking. So That's just a very quick example of what I would do if I was to make a joke book. You can keep it super simple on the interior too. So I actually haven't seen the inside of this book, but I'm assuming it's a very basic interior and they haven't overcomplicated things at all, because it's one of those books that they're just going to be churning out for something like Q4. So you can see here. So what they have done, they've actually gone for a little bit more detail. Again, it's still pretty basic. There's nothing really too glamorous about this, but they've kind of made it a little bit more interesting to look at. You could technically just have the jokes and then the punchline afterwards. It can be as simple as that, because remember, you're not here to kind of produce books that are going to be smashing it all year round. You're just targeting that kind of gift niche. And that's exactly what I would do if I was to look to make a book like this. So that's exactly how I would prepare for Q4 on the sort of books I would make. Just an air of caution, please do make sure you're doing your due diligence. When you're searching for content ideas for your books, obviously read Amazon's terms and conditions correctly and go through all of those processes to make sure the books you're creating are okay. But that's how I would go ahead and make my books for a successful Q4 strategy. If you did enjoy this video, then please do leave a like and also subscribe for more KDP content, and I will see you in the next video.